Hello, what's that? Where have I been for the past 3 months? That's a secret. Also, don't ask me that ever again. Okay, where was I? Right. Hello, I'm Afely. So, I've started a new game project. Oh, now I know what you're thinking. Didn't you give up on the last game project right after you announced that you were making it? And that may be true. So yeah, I'm making another game, and the last one probably won't ever get made. Will I finish this one? Probably. I am really happy with how it's turning out so far, so I think that's a good sign. So, what is this game about? Well, it's a platformer, and it's about two brothers who are like in a cave, and yeah. So today we're talking about platformers, and more specifically how to make fun platformer controls. Alright, first things first, you hear this every single time platformers are brought up, but that's because it is like super duper mega important. It's actually two things, Coyote time and jump buffering. So what is this stuff? Well, basically just makes your controls feel a lot more fair to the player. Coyote time means that when your player walks off the edge of a platform, they have a little window of time where they can still jump. And jump buffering is a little bit more complicated. It means when you press the jump button, instead of immediately checking to see if you can jump, there's a time window that if you hit the ground at any point during that window, then it'll let you jump. And both of these serve the same purpose to make your controls feel more responsive, because if you don't have them, then sometimes it'll feel like your game is dropping inputs here and there, which does not feel fair at all, even though technically it's biased in the player's favor. It's a little bit confusing, and there are people who have explained this and done tutorials on it much better than I can, so I'll have a link to them in the top right here. Click on it if you want to learn more about that. But it's very important for any platformer. Okay, that's out of the way. Now let's get on to something else, because you've already heard that 100 times before, I'm sure. Okay, now I'm gonna cover flow, because flow is a word that's used a lot in platformers, but what does it actually mean? I think the most important thing to think about with flow, what it really means to me, is momentum. If you want flow, you need momentum. Being in flow in a platformer, being in that state where it feels like you can just go wherever you want and it feels amazing, it's all about momentum. You can keep your momentum, and that's when it feels like you're flowing. For example, in my game, you move faster in the air than you do in the ground. So if you touch the ground, then you lose a bit of momentum, so you're not really flowing. But I added a trick that lets you do a little bit of a hop, and it preserves your momentum and actually can give you more momentum. So when you do that trick, it feels like you're flowing. And that's why wall jumps feel so good in platformers, because usually when you hit a wall, you just lose all your momentum. But the wall jump gives you a way to keep going, to preserve your momentum. My wall jump is actually a little bit different though, because instead of being able to wall jump whenever you want, you can only wall jump when you hit the wall right after hooking. And that's one thing that I think is really interesting when you're crafting platformer movesets, to take existing moves that are already in other games and making them unique, giving your own spin on them to make them their own thing. My final point is about button combos. Now, when I say combos, the first thing that comes to your mind is fighting games, you know, when you do different button combinations to murder someone. The only difference with platformers is that instead of murdering someone, you're just jumping around. One thing I really enjoy in platformers is when there are very few actual unique buttons, but there are many different combinations that you can push them in to do different tricks. Like in my game, I only have the arrow keys and then the jump button and the hook button, but I combine them in a bunch of different ways to create different moves, and I think that's a lot of fun to do. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about platformers. This video turns out to not actually have a lot to do with my game, but I wanted to show it off, and I think this topic is interesting, so I'm just using this as an excuse to talk about platformers, really. So in the future, if you want to see devlogs like this, where it's not really about the game and more about things that are related to it, or more just progress updates on my game, then let me know in the comments what you want to see. One more thing, if you want to talk to me for some reason, then I have a Discord server that I own with my friends. And if you want a server that's more focused on game dev, especially in Godot, then I recommend the Game Endeavor server, because I'm also active there. But yeah, that's all from me. If you like this video, please do not like, and whatever you do, don't subscribe, and absolutely under no circumstances should you ring that bell. So yeah, thanks for watching, and bye.